Fellas, AC here. Welcome to another review. Today I want to talk about one of the most legendary amber fragrances that has been created in recent times. It is Ambre Sultan by Serge Lutens. Now this house, Serge Lutens, creates poetic masterpieces and it has always done so. And this is no less. It was created in 1993 and the perfumer is Christopher Sheldrake. It is an absolute work of art, and I'm going to take you through this. It is considered by many adjectives. Some people call it the sort of holy grail of amber fragrances, Oriental ambers. Some people call this a creative masterpiece, like me. Some people also call it a sort of a gateway into the world of Oriental ambers. All of them are true. In my opinion, it's not only a sum of all those adjectives, it is also much beyond that. It is transportive. It transports me to a different time. But before I go into the details of the fragrance, I would like to tell you, this is the vintage formulation. This came out, this formulation is from the 2010s. Serge Lutens fragrances, Serge Lutens, I should say, they've done a lot of sort of weird things with their branding. So it's really weird. So first they introduced, way back in 1999, they created these sort of bottles, but the labels had the Palais Royal, because they have a shop in Palais Royal. So the logo was of Palais Royal. So between 1999 and 2010, if you have the Palais Royal logo, that's the best one. You should aim to get it, but they're very hard to find. After 2010, Serge Lutens, I should say, created the new logo, which looks like this. And after 2015, I believe, they created the new bottles, which went through a bit of reformulation and really annoyed people because some of the fragrances just lost their potency. These fragrances that I'm showing you, this bottle, is immense. I mean, it's a beast mode fragrance, but they lost their potency, apparently. There is a decant somewhere in my collection. I can't find it, but if I do find it, I'm going to do a comparison video as well. So, but let's start with this fragrance. So that logo thing is done because if you can find them, get them, because they are very artistic and they're very well worth their money. And they're just amazing fragrances. But let me start with the review of this fragrance. So when I first sprayed, and I've already sprayed it about 25 minutes ago, because it's quite intense and it really overwhelms my senses. That's why I'm not going to do a fresh spray. It is just too much for me. It's absolute beast of a fragrance. So the moment you spray it, you know you're in for a journey. As I said, for me, I get transported to the medieval times, into the Mughal courts, and it just seems as if sun is rising over the red sandstone sort of palaces. That's how I feel. The moment I spray it, it's just a grandeur. The journey is intense and it takes you through many phases, subtle changes. So the most important thing of this fragrance is its resinous. So to think about the texture, thinking about the texture, you should imagine in your mind a tree sap, a gum, a resin from a tree. That's what is the texture, right? And the most important component of this fragrance is Cistus labdanum resin. The fragrance has been created around Cistus labdanum, and that's why it's called a reference amber fragrance, because nowadays people use synthetic molecules. So if I talk about Grand Soir or any other new amber fragrances, they use a synthetic molecule. It smells very woody and it's also very airy. This one doesn't smell woody. It's extremely resinous and very smoky. So Cistus labdanum is surrounded by 3 or 4 spices. The most important spice for me is bay leaf. It's very green. It's very rich. And wow, the smoky quality is intense. It's a very, wow, it's very intense, the scent. It takes a long time to settle. And then along with that bay leaf comes in another spice, which is oregano. And along with that oregano is a dry, a dusty coriander. Absolutely magical, but very overwhelming. It's huge, these three spices. And cistus labdanum is assisted beautifully by myrrh. So myrrh, cistus labdanum, and those three spices create absolute magic on your screen, on your skin. And then comes leather, and then a creamy sandalwood, and then in the end benzoin. The fragrance keeps on changing. There's also, I sometimes get hint of oud or tobacco, and animalic qualities, almost like animalic musk, because musk was very prominent in the old times, in medieval times. And Serge Lutens is extremely impressed by Mediterranean or Arabic culture. He, I think, was born in Marrakesh. I can't remember exactly. And him and Christopher Sheldrake are basically a match made in heaven when it comes to perfumery and creativity. It's one thing to visualize something. It's another thing to implement that fragrance. And this duo of Serge Lutens and Christopher Sheldrake have created one after the other magical fragrances. This is not just one. There's just, a dozen I can count. It is just tremendous, gift of these two gentlemen to perfume connoisseurs like me and you. So, upsides and downsides. So this is called reference amber, and it's rightly called reference amber. This is how I imagine the medieval times, because amber is huge in Oriental perfumery. So this is how I imagine a medieval sultan or a badshah would smell. As I said, I get transported. I get transported to the seat of Mughal power, the Red Fort in Delhi. I wander around the corridors of that seat of power. I even, feel as if I'm in audience with the Badshah himself. This is how I imagine the king, the monarch, the emperor of various medieval, Eastern world would have smelled. It's got so many beautiful notes. It's smoky, it's resinous, it's rich, it's leathery. It is unbeatable in an experience, when it comes to experience, it's unbeatable. The second upside, this is a fragrance which enhances any collection. You put this fragrance in any collection, it'll enhance it, provided you have a mature enough nose to appreciate something very complex, slightly animalic, and very smoky and dense. The third one is, if you're a collector, it's a collector's joy. If you're a collector and you like collecting like pieces of art or works of art, you like to collect fragrances, this is a collector's joy. The moment it ends up in your collection, the right formulation, it will enhance your collection. It's a collector's joy. And the last one, upside, is this is a beast mode complex multi-layered fragrance. Different seasons bring out different facets. Enormous projection, enormous longevity, enormous sillage. It is hard for me to even smell it. I just got a dense, thick, chocolatey smell with a waxy note. As I said, different seasons, different skin chemistry, different days bring out different aspects of this fragrance. It's an incredible creation. Okay, so the downsides. Number one, limited wearability. I find it difficult to wear this fragrance. I've had this in my collection since 2012, 2013, and it's been like more than 10 years, 12 years now, and I still find it difficult to decide when to wear this. But one thing is for sure, when it's really cold at the moment, it's absolutely bitterly cold. It's almost sub-zero day temperatures, and this works magic. So when it's very, very cold, I bring this out so I can deal with those spices. There was another fragrance which is not in my collection anymore. I used to have a nice decant of it, and I'm looking for one, is Tom Ford's Amber Absolute. Love that fragrance. It's discontinued now. And that fragrance, I believed, I believe, was based on this fragrance. You know, that's why this is called reference amber. This spicy greenness. I forgot to mention there's also a beautiful green note of angelica, which gives it freshness, almost fennel-like freshness. All those wizardry, if you like, has been tried by many fragrances. There's another one which is very famous, which is L'air du Desert Moroccan, which is not my favorite. I find the spices in that fragrance hover above the creation. I didn't like it, but it's there. It's loved by people. So that was borrowed from this masterful creation. You know, mixing spices and compressing various notes which are ambery, which are warm, even vanilla, patchouli, chocolatey patchouli, compressing them and creating a multi-layered sort of a kaleidoscope of olfactive experience is what is the biggest achievement of this fragrance. But downside, as I said, next downside would be the animalic aspect of it. This has a very animalic musk, and when it's very hot, or when you get hot, let's say you're walking, you will get woof of something dirty, almost sexual in nature. And that dirty animalicness can put some people off if you're getting the vintage version. So those are the downsides. Now let's talk about complement factor, age groups and stuff like that. So this is for someone who's got experience of Eastern perfumery or can handle something different than what that person is used to, male or female, right? New experience. This is very complex, multi-layered, changes a lot. So if you're happy with that sort of an experience, if you're patient, you will be rewarded immensely. Age groups, as I said, any age group, as long as you're happy with the facets and notes I mentioned. Times and days and seasons. Autumn, winter, brilliant. Because of the animalic note, I think for me, it works best when it's very, very cold outside. I've tried it in autumn. Those spicy notes overwhelm me a little bit. So I avoid wearing this in autumn. Definitely not in spring, definitely not in summer, but it could work for you. You might probably like it in autumn. So, or summer even. So it's up to you. For me, I think this is a very cold weather fragrance. I love it when it's very cold. Love it. Compliment factor. Again, I'll tell you my experience. It was a very cold night many years ago. I think before COVID. And it was during Christmas time. Not night but evening. You know, it gets very dark here very quickly. So I was going to post something in the post office, and the post office queues were outside the post office. Must have been at least 10 meters or so outside. So I was heading towards the end of the queue, and there was this lady standing in the queue. Just before me, I guess. I was going to go maybe midway in the queue. She must have smelt me because I had one spray on my hand and I was walking past, and she did a complete 360. She looked at me and she followed me and then turned around and looking quite embarrassed. And I went and queued. And I thought to myself, my God, I made that lady turn 360, completely spin because of this. So it depends on who smells you, and it leaves a mesmerizing effect. I'll tell you, animalic fragrances have only one purpose: to go and hit the carnal sense of the person smelling you, woman or man. So it has this boom effect, complete spin. I've never done it with any other fragrance. So depends on who smells you. Performance, enormous. This fragrance, one spray on my skin, lasts till my next shower. Okay, and it keeps on projecting for about 5 or 6 hours. And when I move my hand, sometimes I'll get a whiff of it. So I'm pretty sure if I put it on my fabrics, which I probably wouldn't, I leave a fantastic trail, and that too very luxurious kind of smell. But it has to be timed and bred to the occasion. So the next one is, where do you wear this? Wherever you are comfortable. And if you don't overspray, you can wear this anywhere. It's a very rich scent. But the moment you put it on your fabrics and the animalic notes come out, it might make you very uncomfortable, right? So it depends on how comfortable you are wearing it. I wear it when I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to be outdoors, or in my company. And it has this beautiful meditative effect because of benzoin. And the benzoin resin is very spiritually very, very profound. So I wear it when I'm going to be in my company, I'm going to read or work, focused work, And that's when I wear this fragrance. I've covered most aspects, haven't I? Price point. So the current bottles, I think Serge Lutens pricing is a bit decent on these, and they're worth the money, but I can't remember if the performance and the complexity is the same. As I said, I've got to decant somewhere. I've got to find it, and I'm going to review that and compare it. But the price point for a complex multi-layered fragrance, I think value for money is pretty decent, even with the current formulations, but do check it out. I've heard horror stories about when it was reformulated back in 2015, 2016, and people complain that it doesn't last on the skin. So, for me at least, if you can get hold of these bottles, they're immense value for money. Uncontested. There's no, it's a no-brainer. You should have it in your collection if you're a serious connoisseur. So, I've done the upsides and downsides. I've explained everything I could about the scent, how it makes me feel, and why. And that's why I have given it a 10 out of 10. This is one of those fragrances that you must have in your collection if you want to explore what Oriental perfumery was all about. It takes you to a different era, different age, and it has this complexity that is so rare nowadays in perfumery. It is an incredible, magical experience. It is just profound, absolutely beautiful fragrance. 10 out of 10. Hope you like the review, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.